Trying to test. All right. Howdy, folks. My name is Dave. I'm a wood turner. I started turning as therapy for PTSD. Found out I had a knack for it, and I fell in love with it. I also fell in love with teaching it. So I started this channel to become a better teacher and a better demonstrator. Make new friends along the way, but also to become a better turner myself. The more I work with other turners, teaching the things that I know, the more that stuff gets cemented into my head. So it helps me. And of course, there's always the secret sauce, which is practice. Let's see. I would need a piece of paper towel here. I've got a couple of pieces of green maple here. And I thought it'd be fun to turn some green wood today. I've got other things that could be turning too, but I'm waiting on parts to show up. So, clean off my glasses there. All right, so what the heck? Let's get started. I have, this is a great time to be able to talk about how I split a log. Let's see, I think that needs to go that way. All right, so if you look at this, and you see this line here, that's where I split the log. And I want to cut through the pith when I do that, so that if I have to walk away from it, say I collect the wood and I got to let it sit for a little while, if I can't leave it in a longer log section, I will cut the pith out of it so that as it shrinks, it's not going to crack as much. The wood wants to shrink around the pith, and so that's why you get these radial splits and cracks, because the wood's trying to contract around a circle. If you cut that circle, get rid of the pith, basically you cut the circle in half-ish. We'll just use air quotes there. Then you've removed that from the equation. The wood can still shrink a little bit. It'll still want to shrink radially this way, so there's less chance of it cracking. I mean, you can still have it happen, and usually I'll leave, if I have to split a log, I'll leave it longer than I expect to turn a piece out of it, so I can cut off the ends of any cracking that may have happened during the drying process. But removing the pith, I try to, with every single piece of wood, I want to find the geographical center, so to speak, what I call the geographical center of the piece of timber, and that is wherever the pith itself is. If I take some kind of measuring device, we'll say this ruler, and I measure on around this log, I want to find a spot where it's equidistant, or as close to equidistant as I can get from that pith, and it happens to be right here. And the reason for that is I want to split it in a way that doesn't have an odd shape to start with. This is the wider part of it, so that will be it's going to be a wider bowl, or maybe a box. We'll see. I might turn a green box and let it dry and finish it off. But this way, I've got it split where it makes sense in the log, rather than just splitting it anywhere and then turning from that. I want to look at that log and see where that pith is. Here I've got a really nice billet here. It's nice semicircle, and it's fairly even all the way across. If you follow that arc, here it's very close. It's not right on, but it's a little bit better on this side, so the tree kind of grew a little bit, but in that direction. But basically, this is what I was looking at. So when if I turn two bowls or a box with a lid or something like that, I'll know that because this isn't a weird shape, I can kind of have a bit of expectation on how it's going to shrink. how it's going to handle the drying process, rather than having weird thicknesses in it and all that. And turning it green, if I'm going to turn it twice, I want to create an even wall thickness all the way through anyway, before I set it on the drying rack. So I had just an intention just to start turning this as a bowl. This guy, we'll turn it around and see what the timber looks like. It looks like it might be. It's nice maple. It looks like it might be kind of pretty. This is a very small piece. Also, I will. Well, let's see. I'm sure I can get it on the balance point. That's where I like to start. It may not work out so well because it's a smaller piece. Gravity may not help me as much, but then again, yeah, it just doesn't have enough weight. But then again, if I just go ahead and say, for instance, I'll mark an X and choose that as the center point. So I'm going to say that, what's my thickness here? Width here, 3 and 3. Well, we'll call that 3/8. So if I follow the grain, 3 and 3/8 will be here. So I'll just strike that line. This line needs to be straight as well. Whoops, the ruler slipped. All right, so I'll just go from this corner to this corner. That corner to that corner. And we'll call that the center. Even though I'm not really able to balance it, it's such a small piece that the vibration will be minimal. I'll be able to get it around pretty quick. So I might as well go ahead and do that with this guy. Since we're in this stage, 3 1/4. So we'll say right about there. There's my line. That straight line needs to come out to there. And that should be close enough. So don't have to worry about vibration so much for a smaller piece. Let's take this guy. If I look at this end, I can probably adjust it a little bit. Let's see, I've got it. Need some overhead light, excuse me. There we go. So now I want to bring up tool rest. And actually, I'll put that away. And I want to see where these corners actually come. I want to kind of straighten out that front edge. So I need to come this way. That corner still a little that way. So that corner would hit, and that corner's a little high. So we'll just go down a little bit more. We'll just get it as close as we can get it. Corner. Well, that looks pretty good to me. And then I'll start shaping it, and if I need to move the piece around, I can, because I'm between centers. And as with all pieces that are going on the lathe, we want to make sure they're secure. That'll do. Glasses down. I think I'm running at the slowest speed on my lathe that I can, so I'll just speed it up a little bit. I also want to move that handle to the other side. Oh, my goodness. Well, just to make sure, it doesn't look like it's the light, but I'm going to clean this camera lens. Actually, I need to even get the little cover for the computer here. You know, that'll do. That'll work. Which I have probably taken upstairs, but I have an alternative. So let's clean this lens. Well, we don't need that floating around. Excuse me. Still floating around. There we go. All right. Well, now I'm thinking I guess it's just the glare from the overhead light. Anyway. Wow. Okay. I think I'm probably a little tall here. Yep. So do I leave the bark on? I think I don't. Since it was so easy to take off in the first place. So might as well do something about that. Well, look at that coloring that's in that wood. Let's make sure that that's not. Nope, that's solid wood. Nice. That's why I say it's like Christmas, man. You're never really sure. Let's see if it shows up. Yeah, it does. Let's raise this camera up just a bit. These green stripes in timber here. It looks really nice. I'm going to try to save that, some of it. Let's see. If I turn this... No, we'll work with what we got. All right, so it looks like they'll get to the point where this natural edge goes away. They'll be able to keep some of that, so that's cool. Almost got it. I don't guess I really got to get rid of that, but it's going to make my wall pretty thin right there, so I'm going to take a little bit more off till this natural edge goes away. I think that should have done it. Yep. Still left me a little bit of groovy stuff there. Should got a little bit. Oh yeah, okay. This actually came off just underneath the crotch. So this is the very spot where the two piths meet right in the middle. So I got a kind of an interesting pith situation here, but I've got to take the rim down a little bit anyway, so that'll remove what's left of that pith in that one. Okay, I think I'm gonna make this. I think I'd like this to be a little bit more of a shallow, wide, rounded bottom bowl. I'm gonna go against the grain support there for a sec. Well, that's interesting. I think I'm gonna have to take this lamp apart that I got from China and actually fix it to where it's working correctly. Oh, that's not securing what. All right. Okay, so I will take down the rim on this. I think that should be enough. No, that's fine. Just a little bit more. There we go. And thinking about calabash style, but you know what? I think I'll leave it the way it is. And we'll just refine the outside curve. Let's just show you really super fine shavings that I've taken off with a shear stroke. Just want to take off the high point. And that should net me a really nice surface. Got a little bit of bouncy right there because of this feature, but make a penalty, so don't clean that up before I apply any abrasive. Yeah, still getting a little bit of a bounce from this edge right here. There we go. That's cleaning it up a little bit better. So when I hit it with the abrasive, that's really a shallow mark. So be able to clean it off pretty quickly. All right. So next consideration is shot. I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, all right. So I still think I can hold this tenon in the chuck. Might be a little standoffish there. And be able to hollow out the bowl itself. Just take light cuts because on the tenon the grain is running perpendicular to the ways of the lathe here, and that's going to be a weak spot. So let's see. I was going to grab this guy. I don't know if it's still too green to sand yet, so I'm going to find out. There we go. If it clogs up the abrasive, then it's too wet. And I'm going to also put my mask on. So it's just barely dry enough to sand. Let's get some things out of the way here. Okay, and that took care of that tool mark. Still got that really neat little pattern on the side. So I can set the sander aside. That guy is a nice shape. And then when I cut the tenon off, which I'll probably use a chisel since the grain is all perpendicular, I'll probably just knack it once with the chisel, but then I can sand that little bit down and have a nice little, although now that I put my finger on that, it's almost a nice, if I just carve into that, almost a nice way to hold it between your fingers. Huh. Although still, that will be the weakest point, so let's not do that. Even though it's an interesting idea. Okay. How do I want to do this guy? I think this one will have, well, I don't know. We'll find out. That looks like it might be a really wide. I guess I'll put this guy back. So this will be a small tray, I'm thinking. Okay, corner, that's low, that's way low, that's even lower. Corner, it's a little high, that's a little low. So I go this way. Corner, just a tad low, just a tad high. Perfect, perfect. Tad low, tad high. That will work. There we go. All right, let's set about shaping this dude. So I want to keep as much of the original length of this piece as I can get away with.
Coffee Stream Bot said, visit Dave Life's
Almost there already. So that's, oh, I got a little bit more to go. Well, so be it. I want to get the best possible piece I can out of any particular piece of timber. So That means I wind up with a slightly smaller piece than I thought, then that's the way it goes. It's still going to be longer than it is wide. And I need to lift down. As you can see, I finally wrote my Vic mark measurement for the small jaws, and I have half an inch to go. Well, the good news is I can take it down a little bit more if I want. There we go. And then I need to tuck this in a little bit to my eye. Still leaving that square shoulder to register against the face of the jaws. Move on to scraping, very safe cut. Not gonna catch. Just FYI, I hate to actually just have to say it, but I gotta say it. I'm not saying you should emulate what I'm doing. What my tool skill handling level is at the level that it is because of the amount of practice that I put in. So don't expect that you'll be able to do this right out of the gate. But I do want to encourage you to explore what your tools can do for you. And this spendy little guy, you ought to be able to get as much use out of it as you can. Okay, let me step back here, look at that curve. I think I still need to tuck it in a little bit in the bottom. How did that go? Your results will vary. Everybody's got different body mechanics, all that, but the key, as I say over and over again, is practice. You've got to practice it. So I'm assuming this bark is probably going to come off, and I'm going to wind up with a wild looking shape, which is okay with me, unless I can save that bark. But we'll see when we get down to that point. We are not there yet. Man, a little bit more. Well, yeah, a little bit more on the bottom. Let's press again just a little bit. There we go. get on with the serious searching. So I'm expecting some tool marks here as it bounces off that, but they're really not that bad. And you can always do smaller, not super small. I mean, you know, all the tools have limits. You can always do smaller pieces with your big, larger tools. Much easier to do than to use your smaller tools to make larger pieces. So you want to have tools that are matching basically the diameter, I guess you could say, the size of the piece that you're working on. The larger the mass, the more heavy duty the tool you'll probably want to have. Helps dampen vibration, handles the cuts better than a smaller tool would. I have this guy that I'm going to play around with today. My friend TC Schmo. I'm going to assume, and I remember he's letting me borrow it. So anyway, it took me a little while because this is a 1/4 inch bowl gouge to get my grind just right. That's a 60-degree grind on there. It was a little tough to do because it's such a small tool, but I figured I think I'm going to turn a bowl with it and show, because I like to show that to people that it doesn't really, the size isn't what doesn't make much difference when you're making a bowl. They all pretty much take the same amount of time. Doesn't matter what the size is. So I got a piece that I have set aside over here. I don't know why I'm still wearing. Oh, well, doesn't matter why I'm wearing the mask because I need to put it on now anyway. So there will be a little bit of a foot on this guy. And then I got a piece of timber here that I'm going to cut side grain. It's a smaller piece of spindle stop, but I'm going to cut side grain out of it. I really don't want to turn an end grain bowl with the. I don't usually turn end grain bowls anyway. I guess if you count lidded boxes as the box itself is, you know, an open hollow form like a bowl is without its lid. Technically, it's a bowl, but I don't typically do my bowls, you know, that is specifically meant to be a bowl in end grain orientation because they're just a lot weaker. That way, easier to break. I think that surface is really nice. I want to cut right up in here a little bit. And I'll just bring it all the way around so that I'm hopefully eliminating any possible tool marks. Thankfully this maple is dry enough that the abrasive isn't clogging up too badly. There we go. Alright, surface looks nice. Alright, now the fun begins. Let's see. Now I can remove that. Let's put this guy back together. And bring this guy up. Just enough. I think. Nope, I'll have to adjust that. Okay. No problemo. Making sure it's running true. Oh, good. I've got my little 3/8 bowl gouge. Did I say bowl gouge? I didn't mean splinter gouge. Now let's double check that since I got the chuck sitting right here. Cool, sits square, we're all good. But I think I will go ahead and shrink this part of the tenon down a little bit. Just to be sure it's not going to bottom out. Don't want to bottom out in the chuck. Okay. Alrighty then, let's move this elbow poker guy off to the side. Be nice if I could get a wrench on this one, but I can't, so use the knockout bar. That should give me plenty of room. Ah, time to swap steel. I got a little bit of a hump there from it being worn down. That's what's making it skip when I make that cut. There we go. So we'll get some fresh steel here. Let's see. There you are. Where is it? There it is. Magical depth measuring device. I might go a little bit deeper in the bottom. I've got plenty of material there. That works. Still just tiniest little knob there. I'll drop my tool rest. And I'll turn the scraper up on edge and get a really smooth scrape out of it. Really clean up that surface on the inside. And I'm going to say no sanding is necessary. Nice even wall thickness. I do want to, we'll see what happens with the bark. The bark's probably going to come off. In fact, that one's already coming off. So we'll just remove that guy. So I might as well go ahead and do something about this guy. Then I'll round the corners and the edges, and we'll turn the foot and we'll let it dry into shape. Come on. There we go. So I'll grab this guy and this guy. And we'll round those corners a bit. And then we'll round the corners on this. And all the pieces that they turn, if they're green, I will round the edges over because it aids in the drying process, and again, it helps eliminate cracking right on the corners, because right there on the corner where it's drying out, it's really, really thin. But underneath that, it's thicker. So this will dry out faster and split apart and start a crack going through. So if I round these over, then it's a more even wall thickness on the edge with that curve. And in theory, and so far in practice, it really helps limit any kind of cracking issues. So now let's do the same thing to the inner edge. I may have misspoke. This actually might be elm and not maple. There we go. But the colorations that are showing up, the greens and the stripes, that's pretty. All right, so I'm going to turn that away. Let's see what we do with this guy. I'm going to chance it. I think it'll be all right, a good enough hold as far as this being a small piece. But again, that tenon is perpendicular to the ways of the bed, so it's going to want to break off easy. So I think slow and steady will be a good way to handle this. Double check my depth here. I think this bowl might be a little bit thicker. Actually, that's not bad. So that's why it should be right there, not in the bucket across the room. Something is happening. I can hear the. Oh, it might be because they got. It's just a little bit thinner. So I don't know. Something's. We're gonna find out if this is gonna survive or not because that noise right there. It could be that it's vibrating through that tenon, and that's why I'm getting that noise. It sounds like the wood has got a weak spot. It doesn't look like anything's out of, it's out of the ordinary. But that's one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of noise in the background in my shop, because I want to be able to hear what's happening between the tool and the wood. The power tools, how they're, with loud music, might not hear any issues that might be going on with your equipment. You definitely can't hear what's going on with the interaction between the tool and your material. And I just think it's more of a distraction. But that is my personal take on it. There are plenty of people who listen to tunes while they're turning. I think I can go a little bit deeper there. Let's see. Right about there. Well, no. So there are plenty of ways to get to the end result. Scrapers are something that I haven't used a lot in the past, and so I'm exploring all the things that I can do with scrapers now, so that I have something intelligent to say when I'm teaching people or people ask me questions about this tool. A lot of people turn a lot of things with just scrapers, and I think that in general, most of the turning tools that were created were way back with scrapers anyway. So, I mean, they've been around for a long time, and they're a really handy tool to have. But they're a lot more versatile than people give them credit for. And those are the things that I'm exploring, so I can pass those on. There we go. I'm liking that. Okay. I think I'll just roll this edge over. There we go. And so there's a possibility here that I might get a little bit of split action here, but maybe not. But I wanted to leave that in there because I think it adds character to the piece. So we're going to go with it. So that actually survived. Yay. Yeah, I could have gone a little bit thinner on the bottom. Well, she's out of the chuck now. I don't know that I want to try to center that up again. So I was just going to cut that off and sand it, but it looks like I might be able to just turn it off. Be really careful here, just give it enough pressure to hold on to it. I'm putting as few marks in it as possible. Whoopsie daisy. Drop the tool rest a little bit here. I want to turn in the direction that I have grain support. And that is that way. And now with the application of a mask, it's my abrasive, I can clean that off. So there we have a nice little bowl. So I'm going to turn a fairy bowl here later, what I'm going to call a fairy bowl here in a little bit. So let's set these. Oh no, I got to turn the foot for the other one as well. There we go. So let that guy dry. Let it take whatever shape it's going to take. This guy we'll use a jam chuck for. Yeah. So let's see, let's grab this one, I think. Yeah, that'll work. And a piece of leather, like that guy. That should fit. It might be a little wide. Let's get a slightly smaller one. Let's see. That's not small enough. Ah, there we go. Oh no, we don't want to use that. Let's see. Let's use this guy. Okay. That, I think, will let me some better benefits. So let's get to running true. I think that'll be a good spot. I want enough pressure that I can't easily turn this piece against the leather. I don't want it to slide by. So just, good firm hand pressure. Won't twist it, then that's good enough of a hold. I don't want to press too hard in there. This is still green wood. The jam chuck that I'm using is hardwood, seasoned, dry, so it could make some indentations in there. Oh man, that is really close. Take that. Let's see, I think I can take that down even a little bit more. Let's make sure I've got a concave surface. Maybe take it in just a wee bit. And then clean up this foot. go. And then I can sand that bit and it'll be done other than popping that off. Okay, there we go. Or there we don't go. Hold on. Oh, I know what I need to use. That guy. Little dowel rod. That should be the right diameter. There we go. Groovy. So I know that the grain is perpendicular to the ways, so I can kind of do that. And then take that off. Okay, no marks in the inside. I probably should sand that off right now. So let's do that. I need this guy. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That's not the right wrench. That is also not the correct wrench. I have misplaced one for the moment. There we go. Nice little quick change. And I'll start up the compressor real quick. Don't need to run it very long. we go. Let's grab that guy. I can turn off the compressor now. Okay. Oh, saw. I need a saw. And this ought to be good for my purpose, I think. Not as stable as I would like it to be. There we go. That might do it. Or not. Well. Didn't get it started straight either. You know what? I'm going to walk in. We'll just plug in the bandsaw. Oh, I've got teeth missing. Oh, man. I got several. Oh, it's time to place this blade anyway, it looks like. So I'll take this guy inside and run the bandsaw really fast. Remind myself to replace that blade. That's a bummer. But that's why they're designed the way they are, so you can replace the blade. Okay, a little bit of light. A little bit of power. What you can't see is that I'm basically in my kitchen. With this bandsaw, and I should get rid of that. Terrible cut with that saw. Really need to replace that blade. That was a. Didn't realize it had broken teeth on it. That's a bummer. All right, so I have this guy. I might need to cut another one now that I think about it, because this might not fit in there properly. Or just, okay. So I have this set. And this is end grain, this is the end grain. So I have it set for side grain. And we'll turn a bowl with a 1/4 inch gouge. And actually, I'm going to want to keep the rest of this available off to the side here so I can make a jam chuck out of it. Tool rest. Who's got the tool rest? So I've got to set this up a little bit differently because it's a 1/4 inch bowl gouge. Let's get rid of the elbow poker guy and the bigger tools. Let's move those down. Get rid of that jam chuck. And hold on to that piece of cork. All right, so I still want to be cutting at center. My tool rest has got to come up quite a bit because this is only a 1/4 inch gouge. So I think that's probably correct. We'll find out real shortly. Nope. Tad too high. So I'm going to dial it down to that. See what that does for me. And just a wee bit low. All right, so I did those, basically did those two pieces, smaller pieces in an hour. I was wrong, I'm too low. We'll get this dialed in here shortly. All right, so we can play around and we can make a square bowl. We could actually, that might be, you know what, let's do that, just for fun. And I don't think that's deep enough. So we compare that to 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Quite a bit of difference, and I wouldn't be able to get that detail that I can get with this bowl gouge because this is a smaller piece of timber. Let's see, I don't know that I like that. Thinking about just the shape here. I think that's close to it. No, I want a little bit more. Or do I? No, that works. A little bit more difficult to see because it's a much smaller flute. But the tool control, the tool handling skills are exactly the same. See if I like that. Yeah, I do. So I'll bring this guy out to play. Should have left me a really nice surface. Let's get this out into the light. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to reverse it. And I am going to take this piece and create a jam chuck. So it was apparently wider on one end over another. All right, I'll get a slightly larger round piece. Let's see, how about this guy? No, too small. That guy would work. I think the chuck will hold that. Nope. All right, how's about that guy? That would work. Yeah, that would work. I'll move you out of the way. Let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, that's the guy. Oh man, I thought I would have to chew that up, but I don't, so I can just go right in to make my dovetail. There we go. Sure, it might be. I might have made that one a little small, so let's find out. Yep, just a touch small, so of course now it's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna run through anymore. Yep. Okay. That should do right there. Yeah. So now I just have to turn it to match the shape of this guy. So let's do that this way. Are you up here? You're down one. Nope, there you are. With a feeler gauge, or not a feeler gauge. What do they call these? Contour gauge. So I'll get my contour here. Already pretty close. And I need to take this down. Oh, too far. Not far enough, actually. That should do. So that's my first guess. How close am I? Ah, well, very. Okay. And that'll work with a piece of leather in there. I just need to get of a corner right here. And I want it gone. Do this in sandpaper too, but then I'm not turning, I'm sanding. And I want to give myself a little bit of room here so that I'm not bottoming out on the face of this guy. Very good. And that should be fine. So let's bring up the leather. Okay, that can, well, yeah, that can go. That can go back into its drawer. Okay. I need my live center. So I don't have the center marked on this piece. I'm actually off the center. And that's really close. That is really, really close. Okay, so that edge, that corner hits right there. That corner hits there. So it's just this corner. There, let's try that. Yeah, it looks like it's running true. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I think I will spin. Will I spin this around? Let's see. Nope, that'll get nowhere the leather. So I'm going to take this guy and we'll strap this leather down. I may have just lost where it was running true. All right, come on. Looks really close. All right, so again, I want this to have just enough pressure that I can't do this. Wait, now that I know what my center is, I needed to do one more thing, which I have spaced out until now. This guy back a skosh. And that is get my depth. Right there. So my depth is right there on the inside. Well, you're just going to be a bugaboo, ain't you? Yeah, that's going to get in the way. All right, let's revamp this a little bit. That is going to be definitely in the way. Let's see. Let's try this instead. I don't have a smaller piece of leather, and I don't want to cut this one up because then I have a piece of leather that's not the right size. I need to go pick some leather up. Okay, there we go. That might be it. Nope. Come on, get around there. Get around there. Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the butt. So let's see what else I can do here. That's just entirely too big of a piece. You know what? Let's do... Yeah, let's use this. So I'll put the leather away. Let's grab the... Oh, I can put the contour gauge away. There we go. So we're discounting all the time that it's taken to get this jig ready because we're going to make the assumption that if we're comparing time, that we have already been set up to do a bunch of these size bowls. So we're just going to discount this time. And I'll use a piece of shelf liner instead of the leather because it is a much smaller piece. Let's just put that on the corners. Okay, we're running true. Make sure I can't do that. And that should be enough. Where's my line? There's my line. And hey, while we're at it, let's tighten down the tool rest. And that should be enough to work with. All right, now I need to make sure I'm at center again. So this guy's got to come up for the 1/4 inch bowl gouge. That's about right. I think so. What I normally do for pieces like this, when there's a lot of mass to take off, I usually take a larger tool and just knock all that off. Ooh, that's not a steep enough angle. That will probably do. Let's wrap up this Velcro so I don't lose that guy. That'll be a good size for a foot. See how that looks. I've got to match that curve that's on the rim to right in there, so getting pretty close. Thinking just for a second that, oh yeah, I can do this as spindle orientation, but it's not spindle orientation. How are we doing there? So I can take the bottom of the bowl, I can tuck that in a little bit more. Something like that, I think. Getting a little bit closer here. Let's see. I don't know that I like that foot. So. Oh, holy smokes. Yeah, we need to raise that tool rest a bit. Okay. Oh, that kind of stinks. There's a crack in the blank apparently. Okay, so I want the foot to be out, say, right there. And then I need to take down the thickness of the bowl itself. bit of scrape in here, which is a lot harder to see with this smaller tool. A little bit of smooth scraping. See how that looks? I got a little work to do right next to the foot though, but that looks pretty good. Looks like I still have, do I want to leave it that way? I don't think that I do. Still got some square edges down here. And I think I'd like the bowl itself to be round. Let's see if that got, okay, a little bit more. So it is important to size your tool for whatever you're working on. I couldn't do all this work with where are we at? The larger bowl gouge. I couldn't get into the smaller spots because it's just the tool's too big. But to turn an 8-inch bowl with this would be kind of ridiculous. Okay, almost. Gotta rework the shape a little bit. Man, I'm almost thinking if I had those jeweler's loops or goggles, I could actually. Okay, I think that works for me. So I'll go back to a little bit of scraping here. Now these shavings are so fine you can't see them. They do look like dust, but you see them float away. They're long streamers and well, not long for their size. I don't have that. You can tell that they're actually shaving. Okay, so let me just double check this foot. Actually, I think that's perfect. Okay. So I'm not going to move the tail tool rest yet. In case I got to bring it back. It's already at the center. I need to do that. Wrong direction, Dave. There you go. Still keeping my fingers out of the way of those sharp corners there. Still cut you. You want to be aware of where you're at in relationship to the lathe and the spinning material. Fun, a little bit more difficult because it's such a small but it doesn't change. I mean, as far as skill level, um, working with the smaller tools is its own skill set. Okay, how does that look? Hey, pretty good. Okay, so got a fairly even thickness on the bowl. I probably could have taken it down a little bit more, but I'm going to just stick with that. Let me turn away. And we'll use the smaller spindle gouge for this. And let's put just a little detail mark in it right there at the foot. Like that. Make sure I got a concave surface. Just lost a tool. Oh, it's the Allen wrench. I'm going to need that. Get back here, you. Okay. You know, I could probably use this. All right, let's take this off. Yeah, I could have made it a shallower bowl. But we'll leave it for now. Okay, so that broke off real easy. I'm going to use this guy instead. No, I'm not. I will use this knife to trim away the rest of this tenon. Oh, I got a better tool for that, actually. Still a good tool, but let's go with. Is that my? It's not my gouge. Let's see. Is that the? That is the V gouge. So I have my chip carving tools, and this is a small gouge. It's a U-shaped gouge. A little bit more over here. I was pleasantly surprised. I really thought, because I've got, I guess I could call them neighbors. They're not like next door. They're in a close by subdivision over on the lake there. But every single holiday they like to light off a bunch of fireworks, and it's just not my favorite thing. There we go. So this year that didn't happen on Memorial Day, which was a nice surprise. Just my preference. I'm not telling people they can't do fireworks. I just would appreciate it if they don't shoot them over the roof that I have over my head. All right, so there we have a small square bowl. And what was that? 40 minutes, I guess. Oh, we were discounting. So I'm going to say half an hour for that bowl. No different than the other bowls. It just happened to be a smaller package and using smaller tools, but using smaller tools meant taking smaller cuts, etc., etc. So the time frame is generally the same, no matter what size you've got. Now, I'm not speaking for like 2 and 3 foot bowls, but you would use larger tools for those also. I don't do bowls that size because my lathe can't support that. The swing just isn't enough. That guy goes over here. But the largest bowls I've done, I'm 13 and a half inches. The largest bowls, about half an hour. I mean, it's basically the same. So thank you, TC Schmo. That was fun. I got to practice with that, so that was cool. It now has a 60-degree Jameson grind on it for you. I'm going to move this little bowl aside. I could definitely use more practice, so I'm gonna, you know what? I think I'm gonna keep hold of it for a little while. I could use more practice with that very tiny gouge. That was kind of fun. That was kind of fun. Okay, so next gig. Let's see. I've got this lovely piece of crotchwood. We got an hour to go. So
https://co-fi.com/HIIMDAVE
goodness.
Twitch.
Go. I think, if I recall correctly, this spun off, and the only reason it didn't come off the headstock was the tool rest was in the way. I kept it at least on the threads, and then when I started the machine up again, it quickly spun it on, and then it jammed it onto the spindle there. So probably should have addressed that before, but hey. All right, so I have this lovely piece of crotchwood. So it's starting to split here, but I just cut this a little while ago. These splits were in it already, but that's going to get turned away. But this is starting to split a little bit already. So we'll get on the turning wagon here. That's my center for that guy. I think I need to extend this point a little more. Good thing to have magnets around. Sometimes my hands just stop doing what they're doing, and things get dropped. Okay. So I'm going to say that right here is my center. Right there. Still too heavy. Well, I guess I'm going to move centers. Right now I want to start on the balance point. So I've got, well, that was too much. Huh. I've got my center point marked on this side where I want the center of the hollow form to be. So we'll say that that's pretty good right there. What the heck. All right. So now that I have that established, let's retract the point a little bit. And then I'm going to go right for my, well, no I'm not. So this is the balance point. I'm going to round it out, and then I'm going to move it over. It's going to be, that's going to be twice. It's going to be out of balance. So I might as well just go with this right now. It's going to be out of balance. I will just turn it until it is in balance. Okay. And it looks like I'll be wanting a longer tool rest. I think that's about right. Let's see, that's the tool I want. Hey, all right. So all this is going to clear, right? Yes. But I want to shift this way. Make sure that we are going to clear since I shifted. Okay. So not a lot of vibration because it's a smaller piece, but I really just didn't want any. All right, moving right along. Let's see, maybe I can leave some of that bark on there. Well, actually, no, it would wind up being a void. Okay. And that would not work well for this guy. Looking a little bit better. Get the feeling I'm just a little bit high here. There we go. See what we got. I might still be able to use that. Let's see. So, something like that. Still too much of a bark inclusion. These would be cool and groovy, but I really need that room to be good, solid, and stable. Let's see. It looks like that small. Better, but not what I want. That'll do. All right, now I can start looking at where I want my chuck hole to be. Okay. Give myself a square shoulder. Establish my dovetail. Cut that side of the tenon off. Now I can move to a smaller tool rest. Shorter. Which, yeah, just a touch high. There we go. Alright, let's refine this shape. So I will have two potential voids in the side with these this bark on the outside, so I'm happy with that. I'm just dialing in the outside shape. Taking light cuts because the tool is bouncing where there's a void. It wants to bounce, so I'm taking really light cuts. And with the shear scrape, very, very light cuts. If you can see what's down here on the tool wrist, that is the shavings that I'm pulling off. It's very light cut. That's looking pretty nice. I'm betting that's too wet to sand, but we'll find out. It's not a bad shape. Still needs to be tucked in some. I'm trying not to take off too much material because I need the stability of this to hollow this out. Looking very good. I had to remove a little bit of material there because it was getting close to catching the wing, and that would have been a catch. And I don't like catching. Do everything I can to mitigate all that stuff that can happen. I mean, you can't guard against every little thing because it's a natural material spinning around. Things might come off of it. Even in this case, this bark could fly right off of it. But it's a natural material, so there is going to be some guesswork involved until you get to the final finished form. So I'm going to see, what are we looking at time? 10:20. I'm going to see if I can sand the outside of this dude without picking up a lot of stuff in the abrasive. And then we'll go from there. I may have to let that surface dry a little while until it is excuse me, dry enough to sand. I just need this surface to be dry enough to sand. So let's go with friction dry. So I'm always trying to work with support of the grain. I'm sanding from smallest diameter to largest. Meeting up here in the shoulder, I gotta go down here from smallest to largest, meeting right up there at the shoulder. I'm picking up a little bit. That's still kind of wet. So I think it would be best if I let it dry a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is put this in a plastic bag because it'll take a little bit longer than the time we have left for the broadcast for it to dry enough. But yeah, it's picking up too much material. The abrasive can't clear itself. So this is too wet to sand, and before I hollow it, I want to finish as much of the outside as I possibly can, because then I won't be working with a thin-walled object. I'll be working with that whole mass of timber there, or rather I am working with the whole mass of timber there. So, all right. That's a really, really nice surface right now, although it's just too wet for, it's filling up the grit there. So that's precisely what I'm going to do. I had a bag right over here for occasions just like this. So moving on to another piece, but this will be, hey, while I'm at it though, I can get rid of that. This is going to go in a chuck anyway, so I can get rid of all that. And I suppose I could part it off. But I don't normally part things all the way off anyway. I don't like the torn out grain that it often leaves behind and is more work to bring up to snuff than if I had just sawn it off and cut those fibers on the end cleanly. I didn't quite get all the way through. There we go. And so I've got a clean surface as opposed to fibers being pulled out. Let's see, let's put that guy in the resin bucket. And technically, if I'm thinking about it, I can cut this guy off. Oh, I set it over here this time. Fortunately, this saw at the very nose has got a kind of a bulldog nose on the front of it, so when that does occasionally happen and I smack the ways with my saw, it's hitting that bull nose and not the teeth of the saw, which are just boogered up. Let's see. I thought I might have left a mark on here by holding it against the ways, but it looks okay for now. So we're going to wrap this dude up so it doesn't dry out and do all kinds of weird things to me before I'm ready. Set that guy aside. Okay, moving on. What do we got? Half an hour. Let's see. How's about... What do we got back here? Oh, that looks like there might be another piece. Although it's a little heavier. Nope, that is maple. I thought there might... Oh, no, that's elm. Cool, so I got another twice turned bowl I can work with. No, that is box elder, actually. So we got all those splits. The red, there's some slight red coloring area that I can see now. After staring at it for a sec, is just so pale. So this is box elder. This one should be dry enough to turn. See about truing it up. Oh, come on, you broke loose. Might need that, I don't know. Let's see. I don't want to put a hole in the bottom, so I'm going to use a jam chuck for this guy, or rather, well, I'll use a glue block as a jam chuck without any leather or anything like that. Everything there is going to clear, so I don't need this dude right now. And probably not at all. So let's true this dude up. This will be another twice turn bowl. I already know it's going to be out of round. I'm not expecting it to run true at all. But it's not that bad.
Coffee Stream Bot said, visit Dave
Everything's
Life's
going to clear.
Co-FI page at https://co-fi.com/HIIMDAVE $Twitch.
Let's see how my tool is doing here. Oh yeah, still doing all right. It is a smart thing to tighten down your tool, yeah. So a little bit in here to work to do to get it to run true. Just want to see how we're doing here. Because I've got these splits to worry about, and I don't know how much, if any, of that rim is going to have to come away. Okay, so there's still a little bit. I still need to take off a little bit more to get down to these old edges. Shape's coming along. I think I quite got that one. There we go. Let's see, I'm going to say a little bit rounder than that. So I got rid of that old edge. Let's take this in. Something a little more like that. A little bit of shear scraping as far as I can go with it. Let's see, let's move that guy there. That's still gonna clear, right? And I will take my negative weight stripper here. Lightly touch it, come up that curve. So I'm looking at the ghosting and the lines way up here when I'm turning. Okay, that looks pretty good. I can do a little bit of work right. There's a bit of a corner there. I'm trying to put myself in a line of fire because I know that I can get to that spot and shear scrape. Okay, so if I look at this, I think that where's my other tool? There it is. That the bowl itself could be cut in just a little bit more, like that. Really light shear scraping with the spindle guard. I think I'd like to have a bead form as my foot. And that would be that, and then I need to set myself up with a dovetail here. Square shoulder, and now I can work on the rest of the bowl after I sand this dude. I don't think there's any. Well, let me look at this rim. How much of it do I have to remove? Okay, this guy's going to be a thin guy anyway, a thin-walled bowl, I think, because I got to take that rim down so far, especially in this area to get rid of these splits here. So we're about to find out if that rim is going to survive. Let me sand this guy. Mask on. And some abrasive. Let's move this guy aside. Seems smooth, but I got a little bit more work to do in there. So bend over and get that. Okay. Let's start the compressor up again. And we'll clean up a few standing marks here. Not good, there's screws easy. I guess if you this way to put it, and it will accept all kinds of pressure marks on you. If you're not careful. going over here, and then I want this guy. Alright, now we're ready to work on the other side. What do we got? 10 minutes left, so I think I'll probably go ahead and pull that for the evening. And now that I'm done sanding, I can take off the mask. So, tomorrow evening, let's lose that. Bring this guy back up. So tomorrow evening I'll pick up, excuse me, where I left off, not only with this piece of box elder. Let's do that. And see what we get out of it. Don't know that it's going to be a thin-walled vessel, but partially that's because I've got to get rid of these splits. Even though the piece is dry now, I don't want those splits to stay in the wood, because as this bowl moves and does its thing in its new home, its new forever home, I guess would be the best way to say it. And it acclimatizes itself to the environment that it's going to live in. It will move, and the wood will move with the seasons anyway. It just so happens that, if it goes to a more humid place than is here, that will mean that it will move a little bit more, say, than it would if it went to, or it went to a drier place in here. It would move a little bit more. But it's not green anymore, so the movement is mostly taken out of this piece already. It will still shift and change with its environment. So we'll work on that guy, and then the green maple. I'll pull that out. I'm going to say probably 3 hours before the broadcast, and maybe 2. We'll see. I think I'll start at 3 hours before the broadcast, and wait an hour to see if it's dry enough to do the surface. If it is, I'll sand that, and I'll just get that sanded and ready to go before tomorrow night's broadcast. If it takes longer to dry, well, then you'll get to see me sand it tomorrow night if you join me here on Twitch. My name again is Dave. I'm a wood turner. I'm a disabled veteran. I started turning as therapy for PTSD. Found out that I had a knack for it. Fell in love with it. I fell in love with teaching as well. So I started this channel to become a better teacher, a better demonstrator. Always working to be a better turner. I want to be the best turner I can be. Let me clean this off here. But the more I work with other turners and helping them with their skill levels and things like that, the more that stuff gets cemented in my own head. So it's reiterating it for myself, so it helps me become a better turner. And then, of course, there is a secret sauce, which is practice. I am working on turning this lovely therapy of mine into a income producing endeavor. So that I can, increase my standard of living a little bit. As a disabled vet, it's not that high. It's not terrible, but it's not that high. And I'm always, as a wood turner and beekeeper, kind of in the market for tools and whatnot. It's just the tools wear out. I'm always looking to improve what I have. Like, for instance, with this broadcast, I still want to buy two more cameras, set one up, probably two, at the sharpen my grinder, so you can see how I sharpen my stuff, how I have it set up. Um, and I've improved the audio. I'm working on the channel as I go, and with your help and your support, I appreciate it very much. Everyone who watches, who participates, who lurks, who subscribes, thank you very much. I gotta knock that out. Everybody, we're all working together to make this channel a better channel. So thank you very much for your support. Again, even if you're just lurking in the background and hanging out and watching and not participating in chat, that's all right. I always like to engage in chat and answer questions and all that. It is live, but it does, even lurking is still support. So thank you. I'm going to wrap up the broadcast now, and I guess I will say good evening. I will be back again tomorrow night from 8 to 11 Eastern Standard Time. I am here most Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 8 to 11 Eastern Standard Time. I'm still working on, I'm entering, I'm still kicking around the idea of adding days to turn. It just depends on how the show season and some other things that are going on transpire over the summer. But I think I would like to add two more days to my weekly rotation. And if you subscribe, if you follow the channel, you'll get those notifications. In theory, anyway, in your email, as well as the excuse me, as well as the broadcast times and days of the week. So we're going to call that a fun, good evening of turning. Thanks again, folks. I hope you stay friendly. I hope to see you again tomorrow evening or next Tuesday and Wednesday. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.